We had a show in Buffalo called the Ski Mask Show, and it was just this very, very angry guy wearing a ski mask. And the only episode I saw, he just had all this old candy. And he's like, here's my old Halloween candy. He's like holding up, he's like, this one's got some nice botulism to it.
Welcome to Cartridge Based Radio. I'm Donald.
And I'm Brad.
And that's Brad. We are a show on, well, everything now. We got the SoundCloud, the iTunes, the Google Play. You probably listen to one of those. The Facebook.
Yes, we are on the Facebook.
Yes, we are young hipsters who say the Facebook. So,
or we're grandparents.
Yeah, column A, column B.
Help me download my AOLs onto my Facebook.
How do I got mails?
I want to send a message to Grandmaster Flash.
So, how was your week?
It's been alright. How about yours?
Not bad. I played through Bulletstorm.
Okay.
The new version came out, and I realized I had the original version on Steam, and I never played it. I thought, this will be fun. And then 8 hours later, I was like, I need to tell everybody about Bulletstorm. It's one of the dumbest games I've ever played, but it is so fun. It's got a little bit of potty mouth, but it's all in good fun. But you can kick people into spikes, and it's got a scoring system, and it says things like voodoo doll, because you just impale the guy on spikes. It's beautiful in its own way.
You know, when a game rewards in impalation, it kind of, you can probably get away with some language, and it's maybe not as big of a deal as, hey, you just kick that guy onto the big pile of spikes.
There is one skill shot called the Nutcracker.
Okay.
Just go ahead and let you imagine what that entails.
Yeah, I am. I can't do it in a way that I can express on a family-friendly podcast.
You're family-friendly, recommending Bulletstorm. Priorities. And we also both dove into another series. Do you know what that is?
Is it Metroid? Because I played Metroid this week.
Yay!
And if that's not what our show's about, then I'm going to be woefully unprepared.
No, we're talking about Gradius.
Okay.
Okay, so go. No, it's Metroid. Gradius is great, though. We'll talk about that later.
Is that the shooter that has all the fish in it?
Well, depends on which Gradius you're talking about, but yes, there's like 12 of them, so at some point, yes. Yeah, Metroid. Let's talk about the adventures of Samus Aran.
You're going to have to maybe set up the intro for Metroid, because I've never played a version of Metroid that I had the instructions for. I played Super Metroid. I bought it at a Blockbuster in 1994 out of like a big wire bin they had of games that they weren't running out anymore. And it didn't have instructions, and then to add insult to injury, it had a pristine box that they slapped a giant white sticker on, like almost the entirety of the whole box, that just said no instructions.
Let me check real quick here on Google. Yes, you are allowed to go back and murder those people for that crime. It is legal in this state.
All I got to do now is find a Blockbuster.
You just burn down one of those shells of a building that still pepper the landscape, because they're like cursed. No one will buy a Blockbuster building and put like a pizza place in it. They're just these dying fossils. It's like, oh look, it's The Last of Us, but it's now. There's Super Metroid does a real good job of setting itself up, so you don't need to worry about the manual. The first Metroid, the manual is kind of like you're a bounty hunter. There's space pirates. There's a thing called Mother Brain. Go. And there's Metroids, and they're like space jellyfish. It was never really deep on its own lore until later entries, such as Super Metroid, and I don't believe Metroid 2 even had a story. The one on Game Boy, I think it was just explore the map and get to the end.
Murder all the Metroids.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the Metroids did, but everybody wants them dead. This is a story of hunting an endangered species.
They're, according to the game, they're the biggest threat to the galaxy there is, which I don't totally buy into, because I think any species that can be wiped out by one lone bounty hunter, probably not that much of a threat. I'm thinking, like with the dodo bird, where, just a couple of people wiped them all out and it was easy because they weren't really dangerous. It's probably kind of the same thing, but maybe because they have better endangered species laws in space, maybe Samus had to justify it like, no, they were super dangerous. That's why I extincted them. They are just the worst thing in the galaxy.
All I ever saw a Metroid do is like float in a room. I never saw them like crossing space to attack another planet. They're just floating in a room, and she ran in, she's like, pew, 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 and they die. And she's like, I have saved another 100 million people. I feel good about me.
They're super vulnerable to the cold, and space is really cold. So even if they were that dangerous, you could just kind of quarantine that one planet that they're on. They're not going to build a rocket. They're not going to go into space on their own. So it seems like it's a very containable threat.
I always thought the bigger problem would be deal with the space pirates who keep collecting the Metroids and taking them to other places. Because once you stop that, the Metroids can just live on their own planet and be happy little flying jellyfish things. And what's Ridley?
A dinosaur? Dragon?
I tried to once figure out the structure of the space pirates in this game. You got a space dinosaur bird, some weird looking alien thing. I don't even know what they're pirating. I don't know who Samus does bounties for.
In some ways the space pirates seem really well organized. Like they have a hierarchy. They're carrying out planned attacks to get these Metroids. And then on the other hand, like they don't seem to know what they're doing at all. They don't seem like they can talk to each other. Their leader is a totally different species from the majority of them. And it's kind of weird. Half the time they seem like a well-oiled machine, and the other half the time they're just bumbling around. There doesn't seem to be any motive.
What I'm actually gathering here, now that I think about it some more, the space pirates were collecting the Metroids, taking them out throughout the galaxy to cause problems. So the solution was, let's eradicate this race so they can't do it anymore. And that will stop space piracy forever. That's a bad plan, Brad.
It does seem like they're kind of misguided, maybe going after the wrong thing. If I was a serial killer and my thing was that I drowned everyone in the ocean, you probably wouldn't declare war on the ocean.
Or you wouldn't pre-drown all the people so you couldn't drown people in the ocean. Just a thought. And there's another thing that bugs me about the Metroid series is the Chozo.
Yeah.
Samus is like their adopted human child, but then they died millions of years ago, but she's still kicking. Like, do Chozo have a different time scale than humans? And 1,000,000 years to them is like 6 to us? Like, we adopt you. Oh, we're extinct. And she's like, oh.
It's like if a dog adopted you. Like, it just ages that much faster.
We left these statues. We're not going to give you all the cool stuff in them. You have to go throughout the galaxy and find them. She's super clumsy. Every game, she just loses all her stuff. It's like, oh, I put it in my other ship, and that ship is lost. Need a new ship. Who's giving her ships?
Well, all that sweet, sweet bounty hunting money pays for the ships, I guess.
But to have a bounty hunter, you'd need, like, bounties in those games. Those games are like, just kill everything and you win. They never lay out, like, here's your bounty.
Whoever is, sending her off on these missions it's a really lazy approach. Like, if you really believe that space pirates or Metroids or whatever are this huge threat to the galaxy, you wouldn't just put up a reward and be like, oh, hopefully somebody will take care of it for us and collect the $500. Like, you'd probably send your space army or something, not just, hopefully a bounty hunter will take care of this. We're going to put up a reward.
Maybe the space piracy got so bad they ran out of money to support the space army, so they had to take whatever was left over and just start space bounties. And I know there's more space bounty hunters because Metroid Prime 3 showed more space bounty hunters. It wasn't a good game, so I don't know if we count that as canon or not.
I don't count anything other than Super Metroid as canon in this series. That game I really like. I played Prime. I think I played Prime 2. I messed around with the NES one, like, way after I'd already played Super. Didn't really, the NES one was probably fine for its time, but by the time I played it, it was I was over it. So, yeah, I really just am going off of Super Metroid.
So, you never played Fusion? The one with the purple suit? Or the bluish purple suit?
I played one of them on Game Boy about 10 years ago where you were being chased around by another Samus.
Yeah, that's Fusion.
Okay.
It's like, it's some sort of parasite that's worse than a Metroid that she discovers that actually clones the Varia suit. But they have to cut you out of your Varia suit and then fuse you with a Metroid to keep you alive, and your whole mission is to get back and kill the parasite with your new Metroid-infused body. Which really could have gone bad if she actually had exterminated the Metroids, because then she would be dead. Like, the only thing that can save you, Samus, is a Metroid. I killed them all. Well, that was your bad, wasn't it?
This is a short game.
This is a good lesson on hunting a species to extinction. So, Super Metroid.
Yes.
Such a good game. I think it still held up this week. Some other games we played I did not feel the same way about, but there's just something real classic about Super Metroid.
I played through it this week, and I really enjoyed it, but there were some kind of love-hate moments. If I was more cynical, I would say that this game was designed specifically to sell hint books. I don't think it was. Nintendo, this was a first-party game. Nintendo's got a better rep than that. It's generally not how they roll. But this game is maybe a more comprehensive, better in-game map away from being perfect. But it does hurt it a lot that there's a lot of areas that you have to go back to that you just forget about. And you end up doing a lot of frustrating backtracking because you're just like, I have this item now. Where is the room that I'm trying to get into to use this item? And I don't feel like going through every room in the game all over again to try to find this thing I forgot about.
Well, as a fine modern gentleman, you should have probably just Googled it. Because there's a few times I was like, I don't remember what to do here. Grab my phone. Hello, Google.
Yeah, I mean, I did end up doing that. There are a couple points. There was a point where the very first time I played through this game when I was in high school, and it was still a newish game, where I had gotten stuck, and I had to break down and buy the hint book, and I got stuck in that exact same part again. And it was just like a little area that you need to use a super bomb on, and it's not an orange door. It's not really labeled. It's just, if you happen to use one right there, it'll take out some blocks in the floor, and then you can go down into another area. It gets me every time. There are a couple of spots that just every single time I forget to do it. So that can be frustrating at times.
Yeah, I think all Metroids have that at some point. In Fusion, me and my brother got stuck at the exact same part, And then just out of frustration, I tried out the super run, and I ran into water because we both assumed the super run would be broken by water. It's not.
Yeah.
And you just run down this hill that's covered in water and break through a wall, and it drains the water out, and then you can go down this other passage you need to get to. There's no sort of like tell that's how that worked, and we both were super mad.
Yeah. Yeah, Metroid is maybe the most fun game that will make you super mad at times.
It's the Dark Souls of space bounty hunting.
That's probably not going to be a quote that makes it onto the box.
Yeah, we're retroactively printing these boxes to say this is the Dark Souls of space bounty hunting.
I'm a little confused about the area that you're exploring, and this might come from not having had the instructions and not getting the whole backstory, but you go to this planet that seems pretty abandoned, which is cool because you feel like you're really exploring it and you get in kind of like the natural ecosystem or whatever. But there are doors that you have to open, so there's been a little bit of construction, and then as you get further into it, it's more like a base. And the space pirate base is like at the very center of this planet, but the thing that confuses me is all the doors you open by shooting them, which seems like a terrible way to design a base. Like, I think if I went to an army base and, I needed to get somewhere, they probably wouldn't have like a soldier come with me and just like shoot all the doors open as we're going to wherever.
They might not, but that would be pretty rad.
It would probably be really expensive.
It'd probably be terrifying for someone sitting on the other side of the door. Yeah, it's not good technology at all. Like, discharge a weapon into a doorway. Because you don't just shoot one bullet at the door that you want to open. You rapid fire that, and then those other shells go flying through the door. I don't know, say another bounty hunter was in there. He could just get shot in the back of the head and die. I don't know, does Samus collect a bounty on him or her? I don't know.
Maybe.
Oh, Bert died on the field. How did it happen? He was trying to open a door from the other side when I was opening a door from that side, and we killed each other. It's like, well, that's not illegal. It's Metroid Prime 3. You're on a ship, like the Space Federation ship, and they have those doors too. So you are shooting doors in a military operations base, and everyone's real cool with it.
Well, yeah, that's just how you open the door.
They have not figured out handle technology in the future.
I think what's even weirder is to open up, certain areas, you have to have certain weapons. The only thing that'll open the door is if you have like the super missile or a certain type of bomb or whatever. And that seems like a really bizarre way to do your security, unless you're handing out weapons based on like security clearance. Like you have to, if you are allowed to see the top secret information, you also get a missile launcher, which usually isn't the way that they determine who gets what weapons, in a military situation.
I've seen videos of when a missile hits something, and there's a lot of splash damage. So I would not want to discharge a missile into a door at point-blank range, because you'll die real fast. Or maybe not. It'll just take off a limb or something. Like, I cannot open the top secret file. I only have one arm. You think they could have done something like a handprint scanner?
Yeah, or a master lock. Just go down to Ace Hardware and get a couple of master locks.
And how often do you have to replace your doors? They're always getting shot up.
Could you imagine like going to Home Depot and being like, I really need to secure something. Do you have any of those doors that only open if you shoot them with a missile? And the guy would be like, maybe I have something better. It's a padlock.
Okay, there's only one problem with your scenario there.
Yeah.
You would ask about the door, and the Home Depot employee would say, I'm on break.
I don't work indoors.
So every Home Depot employee is always on break. So, come on. Someone's got to be working. Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't walk up to like Walmart and pull out a 9mm and just start shooting the front door. Someone's gonna get mad at you.
Well, I think that's actually like a pretty common thing in a lot of parts of the Confederate states. It's probably you just go to Walmart and shoot at the door for a while.
All right, so Walmart is a bad example. You don't walk up to Target with a 9mm and start shooting the door, because that place is classy.
Sir, this is a nice store. Use this rifle. It has a wood finish.
It's not real wood, it's a laminate, but you get the idea. I mean, this might explain war. They give everyone guns just in case they come across a door they need to open with enemies on the other side. You can't use the handle, you just have to shoot the door until it opens. Those the bullets are going to bounce back at you.
Yeah, it's some pretty fancy technology they got going on there.
Man, this door thing's really bothering me now. I'm just thinking of all the scenarios you wouldn't want to use that in.
Every scenario?
You're like at a children's hospital and you want to go in, you start shooting, people are going to start shooting back.
Yeah, I want to talk about how irresponsible Samus is with you start the game and you have like the last living Metroid in your possession. It's in a jar or whatever. And you fly it to this science base that's completely undefended. You know that space pirates are looking everywhere for this thing. And you just go to this undefended lab and you're like, here, scientists, hope you'll be okay if they come looking for it. And like you leave and you're not even 2 minutes away from the place and everyone's been killed and the space pirates have taken the last Metroid.
You think she would have seen that coming?
She doomed those scientists, right?
She got them murdered.
Here's the most dangerous weapon in the universe. You guys deal with it.
Now, you're saying most dangerous weapon in the universe with air quotes, right?
Yeah.
This thing's real dangerous, scientists. Anyone who gets near it ends up dying. They're trying to figure out how the Metroid kills people, and then the space pirates kick open the door and start shooting them, and they're like, oh, that's how the Metroid kills people. And then Samus goes on a quest of revenge that she didn't have to go on because she's the one who set up the murder of the people she's avenging.
It's also worth pointing out that I can't remember if it's a science lab that's just like a space station or if it's like an asteroid or a planet that the lab's just on. But whatever it is, it has a self-destruct. And you get 1 minute to get out of the base and jump in your ship and get to space before the whole planet or space station or whatever explodes. You get a minute to do that.
It's a space station. And if she flew away 2 minutes and they got attacked, wouldn't you start the self-destruct then? Not wait till she gets in the center of the base to start the self-destruct? Because like, oh no, we're being attacked by space pirates. We probably should blow this up so they don't get the Metroid. Wait until we're all murdered, and then the base is like, oh, everyone's dead. I'm going to set off the self-destruct.
Maybe they didn't realize it was space pirates. Maybe they're like, oh, hey, Amazon's here dropping off that thing that I ordered.
We don't have anything to contain the Metroid. Just order a Metroid containment jar from Amazon. Oh, it's on now. Awesome.
That's not a thing. We'll just get that glass cake dish. We'll put it in there for now. It's kind of the same shape.
Do you want the rose glass one or just the standard crystal? I think this thing would look good under rose glass. Meanwhile, the Metroid's just harmlessly floating around, nuzzling people. So, we must establish, because we have this scale so far, is Samus good or is Samus the villain?
You know, I guess you could make the argument that maybe Samus just hunted this harmless species to extinction and then made up a story that they were super dangerous to kind of cover for it. So that would be an argument for villainy, but if that's not really the case, then I would say good but incompetent.
Yeah, I agree with good but incompetent. We're not sure if the Metroids are actually bad. They just seem to be attracted to electricity. There's many species on this planet that are attracted to electricity, and we don't hunt them to extinction for that. We have other reasons, like they have a pretty horn. Good reasons.
Good, but kind of incompetent might explain why Samus is a bounty hunter and not like a soldier or a cop or whatever. Like, it's kind of like if you can't make it as one of those things, then you become a bounty hunter. It's, in the game, it's made up to be like this, like, awesome, like, whoa, what a badass, you're a bounty hunter. But, like, if you watch, like, Dog the Bounty Hunter, it's usually, like, 4 or 5 guys with mullets that are just, like, tracking down people that skipped bail. And, like, it's a lot less glamorous than the game makes it out to be.
That would change the game fully if you were just tracking down bail skips. Like, this space pirate did not pay his child support. Like, I'm on it. Samus, the bounty hunter.
Your ship is like the space equivalent of a 1985 Pontiac Firebird with most of it falling apart. Just like, bounty time! I'm gonna get my $25.
It's got a spoiler from a different ship on the back. Like, one door is a different color. It's like, all she listens to is CCR. After she gets a bounty, she pulls into a 7-Eleven, has to get a pack of smokes. Ridley seems incompetent, too. You keep beating him, and then he keeps coming back. He's like, no, I got it this time. Pretty soon, that cycle... his men are going to start losing confidence in his ability to stop Samus. But he's like, okay, guys, one more time. I got this, I swear. Last time she blew some Marlboro smoke in my face. My eyes got watery. And then she shot me. But I think she was just trying to open a door.
Kind of the thing with most Nintendo series is that they sort of... it's almost like instead of sequels, everyone's just sort of a retelling. So you get a lot of the same characters, same plot points, same villains. Kind of the story will go the same. So it's almost like the villains, whether it's Ridley or Bowser or Ganon, they're all sort of like the Buffalo Bills of video game villains. They just keep getting beat, but they're always going to try and try again. And eventually maybe they'll actually win. But it's usually just like loss after loss after loss.
That's actually kind of a moving point you just made. No matter how many times they get beat down, they get back up and they try to win again.
They are the Chumbawambas of the gaming world. Think about like just how many times you've beaten up Glass Joe playing Punch-Out. That guy should have brain damage.
I'm pretty sure Glass Joe has brain damage. I'm going to go ahead and assume they all have brain damage because they've all been boxing for 30 years?
Ever.
Yeah, like 30 years without a break. You are messed up at that point.
And theoretically, they're boxing more than just Little Mac. Like, that's what you see because that's who you're playing as. But theoretically, they're also boxing each other. So these guys all have to fight Mike Tyson frequently. And that's not good. Like 1980s Mike Tyson.
You do not want to put Glass Joe up against Mike Tyson. He will either knock his head off or eat one of his ears.
It's entirely possible that prior to the events of Punch-Out, Glass Joe was just like Iron Joe or something, and then he fought Mike Tyson, and he got destroyed so badly that now he's this shell of a man that you just fight at the very opening stages of Mike Tyson's Punch-Out.
You know he's going to lose, so they put him up first, but he used to just be the biggest star.
Or even just competent.
So Samus hunts the Metroids to extinction. For lack of a better argument, she actually does it. Would she be arrested by, like, space police for space genocide?
Well, I think that's probably why she's inventing the story about how dangerous they are. But given the way that whatever law enforcement we have in this universe works, they'd probably just put a bounty out for her and be like, let somebody else deal with it.
Now she's incompetent, so would she try to collect that bounty?
Probably. It could become like a heist almost. Like you kind of turn yourself in, but you also escape at the same time.
And jails in this universe, does the guards have to shoot the doors to open the jail cells?
It's just a normal room. You just don't have a gun, so you're trapped. Like, you don't have to build a fancy jail or anything. You just, like, buy a house, and, like, every room is a jail cell, as long as the people inside don't have guns.
What if you're in your spaceship and you run out of bullets? Like, I can't get out. I'm gonna die in my spaceship.
You'd have to just keep, like, extra bullets in every single room in your house.
Wow.
Well, I mean, you know... We live in the U.S. It's not that much of a stretch to imagine.
Yeah, but they get mad if you shoot your front door from the inside out.
This is my door and my property, and if I want to shoot it, I was gonna shoot it.
Did you hear our southern demographic hanging up their podcast? Goodbye, y'all. I lived in the South. You're not lying.
I don't think that would be offensive. I think probably our southern listener is like, hell yeah. Damn right, that's how I live.
Gonna chug this Budweiser. Yeah, there's really not a lot going on in the story side of Metroid, if you think about it, other than questionable doors, questionable extinction practices. Mother Brain is just a brain in a jar.
There's a lot of jars in this game. You know, for being in space and everybody has missiles, like, Ridley captures the Metroid from the scientists, and, like, it's still just in that jar. And, like, Ridley's just flying through space with this jar in its tail, and, like, oh, the weapon that I've been looking for that can't get cold or it will die, and it's the last one. I got a mason jar.
Maybe Ridley thought, I really want a delicious cake, and didn't mean to grab the Metroid, but the scientist had that cool cake dish. It's like, oh man, I stole the Metroid on accident. I probably should tell him I did it on purpose. Like, yay, Ridley, you're a leader again. We're now going to breed the Metroids. Ridley, that's the last one. Our plan has failed, boys. Our plan has failed. What were they going to do with the last Metroid?
They managed to make more of them by the end of the game, so they must have had something in mind. Maybe the Metroids reproduce asexually. Maybe they, get really big and then split in two. Jellyfish way to do it. They're space jellyfish.
Yeah. That are completely harmless. Do they just breed out of control? Is that the threat? Like, they don't really explain this in the game. They're just like, this is bad. Go kill it.
That's all the motivation you ever needed in an NES game. I mean, we talked about that when we talked about Mega Man. It's just, you don't see any evidence that the Robot Masters are doing anything evil, but the game's like, they're bad, you have to kill them. You're like, okay, games wouldn't lie to me.
I never questioned it. I still probably don't question it. Like, when I play Destiny, it's like, these guys are bad guys. I'm like, okay, I'll go kill them. No one sat down like, okay, these are why these guys are bad. We can't reach any sort of political common ground with them, even though they speak our language. You should be able to, but space is just the Wild West of space.
I played just tons of beat-em-ups and hack-and-slash games when I was younger, so, to me the story is always like, these guys are bad because they're on the right side of the screen, and you're on the left side of the screen, and you need to go over there and take care of that.
As far as game goes, it's good.
Yeah.
It's still very pretty.
It is. It's got really good atmosphere. It's a little inconsistent just because, like, it feels like you're exploring and you're the only person who's been here for ages or whatever, but then there's, a pirate base in the middle of the planet and you run into them. And it's their home planet, which, by the way, you blow up. So you want to talk about, like, crimes Samus has committed? She blew up a whole planet. Like, we're upset about extincting just the Metroids. Everything on that planet is gone. All of the animals.
There's a bigger problem to that too. That's going to affect all the orbits in that galaxy, which might unhinge some of those planets, which will send them into other galaxies. If they get caught up in a gravitational field, might smash into another planet. She might have just destroyed the entire universe. No one thinks about this when they blow up a planet in, like, Star Wars. They're like, oh, you blew up Alderaan. No one's like, we just sent this whole solar system out of whack. Oops. Gravitational fields don't like to have something just removed from them. It's bad. Yes, she blows up a whole planet to stop the space pirates.
You'd say, well, that would probably stop them. Like, if you had a problem with Ukrainians and you blew up the whole Earth, you took care of your problem with a lot of collateral damage along the way. But I guess it's a little different because space pirates do a lot of space stuff, so they probably weren't all on their planet.
Yeah, they just had to hear the bad news about how the wife and children that they left at home on the home base were just obliterated by this one person running through their base, shooting doors, and setting off bombs. That's got to be a hard day.
Yeah, probably. Bounty hunters kind of work in this kind of gray area where they're not law enforcement or military, but they're kind of doing the work of, and they're not even contracted. It's not like a mercenary you would pay to like go do a thing for you, but this is more freelance. So I guess this kind of points out like some of the problems you have when you're encouraging, regular citizens to take the law into their own hands, and rewarding them monetarily for it is they don't always play by the rules. And they're like, oh, well, we'll just blow up a planet, extinct some species. It's fine. Can I have my reward now?
I gotta go buy my cools. I'm gonna get this door painted.
I'm gonna get a gas pedal for my spaceship that's in the shape of a foot. It's gonna be awesome.
It would go sweet with my 8-ball gear shifter. I guess Metroid.
Yeah, Metroid is definitely a game.
We might have cracked why it has never come back. She extincted the Metroids and the Space Pirates base. I mean, they have to be just all over the place. They have nowhere to go to refuel their guns to open the doors on their ships.
Man, their home planet's been destroyed and they're all just trapped on their ships with no bullets to open the door.
That's horrific. There's just these space pirate ships.
That's really disturbing.
Yeah, just corpses floating in these ships that have lost power years ago, and she's just flying through them going, woohoo!
If you start to think that maybe the space pirates have been framed or, the way they're presented in the game isn't completely truthful and they're really just kind of like ordinary folk, like, that is really alarming that they've just, like, their home planet was destroyed and they're imprisoned on their own ships to just kind of starve or dehydrate or whatever.
So what if the space pirates were working really hard to save the Metroids because this lady was trying to murder them all while telling her story about how they're the most dangerous species on the planet, and they're just trying to save this poor race that's, for the lack of a better, completely harmless. They don't do much to you. She ends up like destroying all these people and dooming them to death in their ships, and she's the hero in the story. This is sad. Metroid is sad.
I kind of hate Metroid now.
Why do we do this show, Brad? We end up hating things. Go ahead and play Metroid after this, listeners, and see if you still think you're good. You're like, yay, I got super missiles to do more murder to a helpless race. There's a brain in a jar who's like, I'll help save these creatures, and you just shoot a missile. Like, I cracked your glass jar. Haha. Well,
there's our show.
Any closing thoughts on Metroid?
It's a much better game in the internet era where you can look up videos every single time you get stuck, which will be frequently.
All right. So, Cartridge Base Radio. If you want to email us, you can questions, comments, critiques at cartridgebaseradio@gmail.com.
You could also email us if you have a suggestion of any games that you'd like us to talk about.
Oh, that's good, yeah.
Yeah.
You can also hit us up on Facebook. You can make suggestions on games there. We'll play anything except Boggle. I hate Boggle. Head on over to iTunes or Google Play. Give us some stars. How many ever stars you think we deserve? We'll accept that many stars. You probably think we deserve 5.
Yeah. 5 is a good number.
If we just keep saying 5, it's going to get stuck in people's heads. 5. Brad, thank you.
All right.
And I'll see you next week.
Sounds good.
Wolves are stupid. They don't know how to run a tractor to build a house. Murder them all.